Welcome to Card Players The Circuit, hosted by your favorite set, Scott Huff, Gavin Smith, and Joe Seabach.
That's right, everyone. You're listening to Card Players The Circuit. We are broadcasting on Sports Byline Radio on Sirius Channel 122, on cardplayer.com, and on iTunes Music Store as a podcast. Scott Huff here with Gavin Smith and Joe Seabach at the Bellagio Resort Casino in Las Vegas, Nevada.
What's up?
We're only a week into the World Series of Poker, boys, and it's feeling like a month.
It's getting fiery. It's getting
ridiculous. We have a great show today. Hand of the day, as usual. Your phone calls. Make sure to get them in by 6 p.m. Pacific every night if you want to hear yourself on satellite and everywhere else that the circuit is disseminating its information. Mm-hmm. We also have Andy Bloch on the show, a member of Team Full Tilt.
Scott, you know that Gavin has no clue what disseminating means.
Uh-oh.
Why
would you do that to him?
You don't?
No, I have no idea.
You don't know what disseminating means?
No, I tried to just not say anything this time, but Joe had to center me out.
I had to. I know. I mean, I saw your eyes and I had to say something.
Really? Did you just start staring off in every direction when I said disseminate?
Yeah, I just didn't care.
All right. Well, Gavin, why don't we start off with you here? We always talk about you two. You always get so much attention. We never talk about me, but we talk about the two of you every show. Gavin, a deep cash. Tell us about that. Tell us about the shorthanded no limit event.
I came 12th.
Still a deep cash, exactly. You did come 12.
I came 12.
But I know there were some things you wanted to talk about. Not only talk a little bit about your play and also talk about the controversies that happened at the Rio.
What happened in this particular event is something that cannot happen. It was ridiculous. It was horrible. Before the event started, I got there at 2 o'clock, which was right at sort of game time. And what had happened was it was a 6-handed table, but normally it's a 10-handed table. So the dealer undid the bag of the man who was going to be sitting in the 6th seat. And then stack the chips in what the 6th seat would, in where the 6th seat would be in a normal 10-handed table. So now when the guy gets there and sits down in the 6th seat, he says, "I've got no chips. Where's my chips?" So John Vince, the floor man, sends somebody over to look in the locker for the bag of chips, for the missing bag of chips. Well, there's no missing bag of chips. So now here we are, like a couple of minutes before 2 o'clock, and somehow John Vince comes up with the moronic idea.
Insane. I mean, this is insane.
Comes up with the moronic idea that he will just go into the cage and get out $101,700 in chips and just give them to that guy, and we won't worry about. And not only did he do that, he never mentioned to anyone in the tournament that this was happening. So about 15 minutes in, we find out now that what has happened is that they put the wrong stack at the 4 seat, which was supposed to be a dead seat.
Right.
Now, I was sitting in the 3 seat. So that meant that for the first 15 minutes, first off, all the cards are different than what they would have been.
Right.
Second off, my blind's really vulnerable because I've got no protection of somebody being in the big blind. So I've got Daniel Negreanu on my right, Kathy Lieber right on his right, both experienced tournament players.
Right.
They both know this, and they can both attack. Now, I also know that they know this, so now I have to defend a little more liberally
for sure.
From the small blind because I know that they're probably raising a little more liberally. So then, at 15 minutes, we find out what's up. We get the clock stopped. John Vince comes over with a ton of attitude and somehow has the mindset that what he did was the right thing to do and that he did nothing wrong. And it was asinine, it was ridiculous, It was unprofessional, and it is appalling, and it cannot happen. And I truly believe I'm as friendly a person as there is to floor people and to dealers. I'm constantly supporting them. I believe that this is something that is such a mistake that John Vince should not be working the floor of the World Series of Poker.
Right.
It's just too big of an event. We're playing for $1 million, and it's just too big of a mistake. He needs to be reprimanded, and something needs to be done about it.
And I just want to jump in. It's so far from the correct decision that it's unprecedented that you would just go and add 100,000 or 80,000, however much it was, into the tournament pool of chips. I mean, I can't state it enough for people listening at home. It is just so crazy, and it couldn't possibly be the correct decision under any circumstances.
Like, wouldn't you think that the immediately? Oh, wait a sec. There's chips missing. Well, hang on a sec. We know there's 39 players left.
Right.
Let's count the stacks and see how many stacks there are.
Or you just would try to figure it out, yeah.
I mean, or let's find the bags and see what happened with all the bags.
Right.
But to just arbitrarily decide I'm going to go into the cage, get more chips, completely change the outcome of the tournament. I mean, it negatively affects the other 5 tables because now there's extra chips.
There's a bunch of extra chips
on our
chips,
tables
right.
that we shouldn't have had.
Right.
So it negatively affects them. It negatively affects me. It positively affects the other 5 players at the table. I mean, it's just it changed the outcome of the event. You know, I may well be wearing a World Series of Poker bracelet right now if John Vince had half a brain. And that's the bottom line. You know, instead I came 12th. And you know, if John Vince had half a brain, I may well have come 35th too.
Right.
You know, I'm not saying I might have won. I might have turned out awfully for me too. But at least the right thing would have happened instead of the outcome of the event being changed.
I think for the people who aren't playing in the 50,000 horse event, we should have a steel cage match between John Vince and
Gavin Smith. I will immediately right now put 5,000 on Gavin.
The minute I bust out, John Vince came up to me and said, "You know, Gavin, you were right." And I'm like, you know what, John? It's too late for that. First off, you had way too much attitude when you came. You never once apologized. I know mistakes happen. Why didn't you come to the table and say, my God, I made the biggest mistake of my life. You know, I don't know. We're going to try to make it right. We're going to do what we can. At least you'd still be an idiot, but at least then we'd at least have a little more respect for you and appreciate you a little more. But to come back afterwards and say that to me, I'm like, no way, John. It's not done. So I've had meetings with Nolan Dahl. I've had meetings with Jack Eiffel. I intend on going to Robert Daly, and I will go as high as necessary to make sure that John Vince is
killed. I mean, he's reprimanded.
It's just treated the way he should be.
All right, Joe, why don't you tell us how things are going for you in the limit event? You're still alive.
I'm still alive. I've hit my second dinner break.
Hoorah.
Hoorah. I'm stoked, actually. I haven't had awesome results, but I've been playing really well, and I'm happy. I cashed in the event that Gavin cashed in as well. Certainly not as high as he did. So things are going well today. Things are going really well. I got, some chips early. I kind of made a couple of bad decisions and got really low, and now I'm back up to 12,000, which is above average. And it's limit. I'm lucky that it's limit today because I'm really hungover. And so I don't have to
wait a second. What happened to no drinking during the World Series of Poker?
I had to get drunk this one night, and it was a big mistake, and it just happened. It's not going to happen again, but I had to do it last night.
Why?
Why? Because I had to go out. I had to go do something.
But why did you have to get drunk?
I had to go out because I had to. The situation dictated I had to get drunk. It was like old friends, and I really had no choice. I would have been like a super jerk.
To go out and not drink?
Yeah.
You would have been a super jerk?
A bit of a super jerk.
Gavin, are you still on no drinks for the World Series of Poker? Or?
Be honest. Look at your smile, you liar.
Wow,
actually,
that's it.
I'll be honest with you. I had a few drinks last night, but I did not get drunk. I had like 4 drinks last night.
Oh, man, I got drunk. I got really drunk. Okay, so anyways,
good luck.
So my point was this. When you're hungover playing Limit, it's like heaven because you don't really have to think at all. It's such a mathematical game. You can just play. You play your hands. You listen to music, and it's actually really nice. So I think that's actually helped me because usually I'm all amped up and trying to take pots away, and be the aggressor, and I've relaxed a little bit, and I have some chips.
All right, well, now it's on to World Series of Poker news. Dun, 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 dun. World Series of Poker news. We have a slogan contest going for it right now because we still don't have one.
Yeah, we need one. Please send it in, guys, because It's the Nuts isn't good, and it's really cool.
Yeah, intern Justin Tronk started a thread on our cardplayer.com forum for cardplayer.com as a circuit. You can check us out there and interact with us. If you want to try to come up with the slogan, if it's good, we'll send Joe Seabach to you wrapped up in a bow.
Nice.
So the $1,500 pot limit hold'em, Rafe First, a member of Team Full Tilt, took down the...
did that help any of us that had bets on that?
Let's see, Howard Lederer. So he's already behind the 8 ball.
Take that, Howard.
There you go.
Call me out and make me bet more next time again, pal.
I wish we'd bet. And I thought about later. It was our bet is kind of weak. We should have bet 5,000. And now the odds are still so with us that they're going to win. We are going to win 3 bracelets. So we blew it, but we're still going to collect $2,000 from him.
All right. So First took down 345,984. We tried to get him on the show for everybody, but he has cut town.
Bounced.
He is back wherever he lives. I think it's around Los Angeles area. And then the $1,500 limit hold'em wrapped up last night. Kianush Abulfathi took first place, 335,289. And someone who's going to be joining us in the studio a little bit later, Josh Schlein, took third place there. It was pulling for the kid.
His first World Series final table.
Absolutely.
Very impressive.
He's already made a WPT and a World Series. He only played like 8 events.
I think it's sick. He's only played like 2 World Series events, I think.
And he's
rocking it at a 50% clip.
He said he didn't know much about Hold'em, or about Limit Hold'em, but he came in third place. Joe Cassidy took 20th in that one. Aaron Bartley 18th.
I actually think that he probably does know a lot about Limit Hold'em, though. Yeah, I think
so. He's just putting.
Well, I think Limit Hold'em is actually, Josh is an internet player, right? So I think that Limit Hold'em is actually very much geared towards the internet player because it is more mathematical and less about physical tells.
So the $2,500 shorthanded no limit hold'em is wrapping up as we speak, and guess who is heads up at that one?
I know.
Joe Esham.
Yeah. Joe Hasham.
Always
Aussie,
friends,
Aussie,
always
Aussie,
friends,
Aussie.
mate.
You know what? And I swear to God, I like Joe. I think he's a pretty nice guy. But I wanted to kill all those people that were doing it drove me out of my mind last year because they would never stop. In every pot, he would like win the blinds, and they would go into the Aussie. It was too much.
And he's heads up against Dutch Boyd.
Yes, he is heads up against Dutch.
Who was
who's got the chips right now?
If
Dutch has the chips.
If Dutch wins this, does that mean he's taking over the poker world?
Oh boy!
Wow.
I got to call you out, Seabuck.
So,
we had a
what?
conversation a while back, and
What'd I do?
it may have been maybe 3 weeks ago or so, where you said, "Well, you know, Joe Hasham, he'll never do anything in poker again. Those guys will never do anything in poker
never
again."
said that.
Oh, you sure did.
Not about Hasham?
About Hasham.
I
Of course I didn't. That's ridiculous.
I don't recall him
because
saying
he's
that, 'cause
already
he's already done
he
something.
did.
He did
He's
something
already
on
done
the show.
several
said it to
things.
me. You said it to me off the air.
No, I may have said it about other people. I didn't say it about Hasham because he's already done some things.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, no, he made a final table at
But-
the circuit event right afterwards.
Yeah,
but I recall you
and
saying
he's gotten
that-
really deep in a WPT.
But more importantly, I have to call
You're
you out
lying.
too, Seabuck.
Well,
not
okay,
lying.
it's not Attack Joe hour. First, let me
No, it is.
address
No, no,
this
I'm not-
one, then I'll address yours.
I'm telling you, you said it.
We already
bottom
backed you.
line.
I already backed you up, so this one's addressed.
Okay, this one's done. You're wrong.
Apparently
okay,
I'm
no,
wrong.
go ahead. Okay,
No,
just
it's
make
fine.
your
It's
point.
fine.
Make your point. Wait, I
The-
don't hear your point.
The point is just that he's at a final table and he's heads up, and if you said that, you're wrong. That's it. Go
No,
ahead.
I agree. If I said
No,
that, you're wrong.
but I have to call you out.
Okay, what'd I
because
do?
You did not root for me last night. You were happy when I busted.
That is
12.
not true. And you want to know what my quote was?
You were happy, and I know
No.
you were.
That is not true. What I said was, I love Gavin and he is my boy, so I will never root against him. I want him to win. But if circumstances dictate that you bust out, there's a little part of me that is okay with it. And I didn't even use the word happy. I said okay with it. I never said happy. You can even ask our wonderful host, Mr. Scott Huff, because I had a conversation with him.
He just said he's only happy when Joe Hasham busts.
Yeah, because I hate him.
He said he hates him. He wants to do anything in poker again.
I kind of believe that Joe is not really on my side, and I'm going to go through the
He
rest
did say that. He said that he is
I'm
not
gonna-
rooting against you.
I'm going to go through the
openly.
rest of the series, realizing that I'm being a little more upfront and cheering for Joe than he's cheering for me.
It's not true. It's not true. I
I
was
disagree.
Totally rooting
I
for you.
disagree. He told me that it's not like that. It's just
See?
you have to be competitive. You're both competitive guys,
Exactly.
but I don't know. I don't want to be the.
But I purposely didn't.
Intermediary
I
here.
didn't call you, or I sent you a text message really late last night because I knew that if we talked, you were going to think that I was happy and we would get in a fight. I already knew that we couldn't have a conversation for a couple hours.
Would you have been mad?
No.
If I called you up and I'm like, "What's up, Gavin? How you doing, buddy?" Like right after you busted, you would have ripped my throat out.
No, I wouldn't have been mad.
only if you had been like, "Hey, I'm so happy they put extra chips in play and screwed you over for the bracelet."
In fact, I told him to.
All right. Well, now it's time for hand of the day.
hand, sir.
This one involves Gavin Smith from the small blind. Gavin Smith raises to $3,000. Joe T. Hand calls from the big
I
blind.
think
and
the numbers
flop
that
comes.
they're going to have that are going to be wrong.
Okay. Well, would you like to read it instead?
I won't read it. I'll just sort of play.
Okay.
it.
Well, fine. So you didn't raise to 3,000.
I raised it. Well, I mean, close enough. I mean,
Okay,
I
raise
raised
it
it 32. I raised it to 3,200 because it was a standard raise. I raised it to 3,200, and Joe Tehan raised. And I've played a little bit with Joe, or called, and I played a little bit with Joe, and I know that Joe would, if he had a pair, he would re-raise me all the time. So he's flat call, so I'm pretty confident he doesn't have a pair. Flop comes down 10-10-8, and I lead for 6,700, and Joe raises me to 14,800. Now, when Joe does that, I'm really confident that he doesn't have a 10 because Joe would wait to raise me with a 10. So now I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to repop it here, and he'll likely fold an 8. So I make it 26,000 at that point, and Joe calls me. So I really don't think he's got an 8, so I think his most likely hands are drawing hands. The turn comes down to 3, which does nothing to the hand. I check. He bets 15,000, leaving himself with 21,000. And if I call, it's going to leave me with about 30,000. And so I go into thought here, and I look at him, and I really just get the feeling that the bet he made was small enough that he was leaving enough chips back that he felt he could bluff me. And I really just thought I had the best hand. But I thought if he had a drawing hand, I don't really want to shove in here because now he's committed to the pot.
Right.
And, I'm not necessarily committed. If the draw card hits and he happens to move on, I can get away from the hand. So I call the 15,000. River's a jack, which is actually about the worst card it
Right.
can be.
So interesting. If he had moved in, you would have folded.
Well,
probably.
As it turns out, I probably wouldn't because now he has.
There's a lot of chips. In
He
the
has
pot.
to specifically have 9-7 at that point because
Right.
I don't think he would bet a jack because it really looks like I have an overpair.
Right.
So on the river, the jack comes and I check and he thinks about it for a second. He says I give up and I turn over my 5s and he throws his hand away and I win like a $80,000 or $90,000 pot.
I just
Let's let
couldn't.
Seabuck sound off here since we have about a minute.
No. I mean,
to
I
head out.
think I think it's an amazing hand. I mean, I think that you obviously had a great read on him. I don't think you played it badly at all. all that I'm thinking is, what could he have had? I mean, all I can see in my head is like either some tiny pair, even smaller than yours, 4s or 3s or something, or he's got ace queen and some hand like that. He just doesn't want to let it go. Like for some reason he thought he was going to trap. He didn't hit anything. But it's like you said. I mean, if he's got obviously any a 10, 8, anything like that, he's got you beat. If he's got a straight draw, he probably hit it. There was no flush draw, so it's hard to imagine what Joe had. But I thought you played the hand great.
I think Joe had absolutely no hand, but I think what actually happened was Joe had a great read on it. Mm. He had a great read on me,
right?
As to what cards I had. He just had a bad read on me on what I would do with the cards.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. He just whisked out a little at the end.
All right, we're gonna go sell some stuff, and when we get back, your phone calls for the three of us. Well, we here at The Circuit are excited to have Pacific Poker on board with the show, one of our new sponsors. If you're new to poker, why don't you check out Pacific Poker's free practice play version to get the hang of the game. If you're ready for the rush of playing for real money, Pacific Poker will start you off on the winning track with a guaranteed 25% bonus up to $100 on your first deposit. They feature a wide variety of table stakes, and poker tournaments never stop. The daily $10,000 tournament is among the internet's richest daily prize pools. At Pacific Poker, you can count on fast and friendly customer service, great bonuses, and thrilling events.
I'm Howard Lederer, and I'm a member of Team Full Tilt, along with other top poker pros like Phil Ivey, Chris Ferguson, Jennifer Harmon, Eric Seidel, and Phil Gordon. Come learn, chat, and play with all of us at FullTiltPoker.com.
This is Hoyt Corkins, and you're listening to The Circuit.
Welcome back to Card Players The Circuit, everyone. We are broadcasting on Sports Byline Radio on Sirius Channel 122, on CardPlayer.com, and on the iTunes Music Store as a podcast. Scott Huff here with Gavin Smith and Joe Seabach at the Bellagio in Las Vegas, Nevada. We have a nice view of the Strip from up here in the suite, don't you think, Gavin?
Absolutely.
Well, Gavin, I wanted to definitely let everyone out there know that if you're enjoying the radio show, you can also read a ton of strategy, news from the poker world, and tips with Card Player Magazine, and our Subscribe and Win program still going on. We will send you to any sporting event in the world, and because we reduced the subscription price down to $19.99, which is like an 85% decrease in the subscription price, you can grab it. And if you go to www.cardplayersports.com, there's contest details there. Subscribe and win your way to the, what was Seabuck's thing? The Sumo Penguin Fishing Ice Championships or something.
That's ridiculous.
No, that's what you said. That's exactly what you said. All right.
What?
That is exactly what you said. All right, let's take some phone calls.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Andrew from Boston. Love the show. I think you guys
What's up with my bitches? What's up with my hoes?
Joe Seabach in particular. I think you're extremely funny. I can't stop laughing at everything you say, and I don't know why. So
you are so stupid.
Request, just be as funny as possible for the next show. Thank you.
Well, apparently you're the funny one, Joe. I don't know. I liked my impression better, and so did Gavin. But now people apparently have gone on the Seabach bandwagon.
Seabach's not that funny.
No, I don't think he's that funny.
This is my favorite part of the show.
I agree. All right, let's take the next call.
This is Nicholas Jansen from Rochester, Minnesota. Currently, I am in pure poker research gear. I was interested to hear that Joe Seabach also took that route, and ironically, my dad is also an advanced player.
We all have them, dude.
My question is to all. What are some common/popular strategies that have not worked for you? Thanks a lot.
Well, the most common advanced strategy that didn't work for me was playing tight or knowing the math of poker.
Popular strategy and pot odds. Not worked for Gavin.
Wow. I mean, poker's just really weird that way. I mean, you gotta gel. You gotta, get as much information as you can. You gotta gel it to your own game and figure out what style of player you're gonna be. Probably very few people can play sort of the way I play, just because it's kind of crazy. But, very few people can play the way David Sklansky plays either, because it's just so damn tight that you're going to just fall asleep. I think it's just a matter of finding the style that suits your game.
So you say, but he's also saying that the particular strategy is obviously playing tight, the math of poker. Are there any other particular things that are just totally counter everything that's out there about Gavin Smith's game that you wish to divulge?
Well, I mean, I guess the biggest thing that I do that very few people are proponents of is I flat call all the time. I don't re-raise very often. I rarely re-raise. I won a big pot yesterday because I flat called with aces. And, you take a lot of chances that way because we ended up playing a 4-way pot. But, you have to trust if you're going to play my style where you call a lot, you're just going to have to trust your reads after the flop and go with it.
That's got to be an interesting way to play, and quite an exciting one if you're getting yourself involved in four-way pots and knowing that you have to get in there. But, your decision-making obviously is a huge factor then. Once you've allowed 4 people to get in the pot with you, then you really have to be much more adept at maneuvering. And I like that you use the word proponent, by the way. Well done. You like that one, huh?
I like that one. That was good.
All right, what do you think about this, Seabach?
Hey.
Anything in particular that you use that's... I think Seawalk kind of plays by the books, though, don't you, Gavin?
I think
that's ridiculous.
Well, I don't know. I think it's true. Let's take the next one.
Hey, this is Scott from Tampa. I have a question for Joe, Gavin, or Scott. I was just wondering if anyone could tell me how many people they're getting for the nightly $1,000 supers. Thanks a lot.
Joe, anything on this one?
I'm going to kick his ass and throw him in a ditch. Hey.
I don't think that's very nice of you to say that. He was just asking.
Yeah, he was just asking
a normal question. I think that was really rude of you, Mr. Seabach.
Seabach, you've been a little cranky in the studio the last couple nights. I'm not really.
Fuck you guys.
Sorry that you're not happy about making another dinner break with your hangover.
This is my favorite part of the show.
We know, but all right, Gavin, what do you think? You know how many people are down there for the supers?
I don't actually know how many, but I think it's quite a few. I think they're probably giving out, in the neighborhood of I'm going to guess 8 to 10 seats a night.
What? No, that's what I heard too. I heard 8 to 10 seats a night. Why is he always disagree? It's a dissension between the two of us. I feel like you and I need to do something about mending our relationship a little bit. I feel like it's gotten a little bit adversarial between me and you, Joe. You show up here and you choose to disagree with me on most things. He definitely said that Joe Hashem was never going to do anything in poker again. I don't care what you say, Gavin, and I don't care what you say, Joe. The fact of the matter is you said it.
You are so stupid.
You said it to me a couple of weeks ago. You absolutely said it to me. You go, none of these guys, Raymer, none of these guys, Dramer, Hash, I'm never going to do anything in poker again.
That's ridiculous.
And I'm like, no, you said it. And I said Moneymaker. There was that Chris Moneymaker obviously was the one guy you could probably say isn't because he's not really playing that much poker. But
what?
You were saying that Joe Hashem was not going to do anything in poker again, and I disagree, and obviously I was right. I mean, he did make that other final table, and I don't know, why are you sticking up for Joe?
No, it's clear
because you weren't there. He was out there, and he's
there.
just spouting off his Seabockery.
I just could not imagine that he would be that senseless to say something like that. So I mean, I gave him the
so tell him right now to his face that you agree with me.
Joe, I'm afraid I have to tell you I agree with Scott.
What's up with my bitches? What's up with my hoes?
See, that has nothing to do with what we're talking about right now.
That's just very childish, Joe.
What's it with you?
It's completely childish.
Hey.
My name is Joe.
I'm not usually into reading the emails, but I will read one tonight. This is from Rob W. in Gainesville, Florida. He says, I'm sure you get this question a lot, but I feel the need to ask it anyway. I've been playing poker for about 2 years and have successfully funded my college education and my lifestyle from playing online and in live tournament hold'em card rooms.
So what?
I'm graduating very soon, and I'm really wanting to take some time off to see where I stand in the poker scene. I've been to Vegas twice in the last year and have tripled my bankroll during those 2 trips from live play. He plays 1-2, 2-4, 2-5. He goes on to say, my question is, when did Gavin or Joe just decide to make poker their career? Was it a clear-cut decision? A big move would be needed for me to get into the professional poker scene because the poker scene in Florida is almost non-existent. Thanks for any advice you guys can give. Gavin, you go first.
Yeah, for me it was kind of gradual. I started out playing while I was dealing. Then the charity casino back home closed, so I opened up a club and I played in my club to keep the game going. And then it was just a progression where you started making more playing than you did doing other things. So in '98, I just decided to sell my club and give it a crack. I like traveling around, and so I went for that.
What?
That's what you did. So
yeah, but no, I mean. It really with the internet now. I mean, it doesn't really matter where you live. You can make a living playing poker anywhere you want to live. So I mean, if you're doing great on the net, then and you want to play poker for a living, I don't see why you wouldn't just go for it.
Well, I agree with Gavin. I think if you got that internet game. Anyways, we'll be back after this with Andy Bloch on.
Hey.
Cardplayer.com will be working 25 hours a day, 8 days a week to bring you all of the best from this year's World Series of Poker. Each and every day of the World Series, Cardplayer will be working tirelessly to bring you chip counts, live updates, tournament news, and hand-by-hand action. If you have yet to check out the new site, take a look now at Cardplayer.com. All right, our guest today is a professional gambler who has over $1 million in lifetime tournament earnings on the poker circuit. He was a member of the MIT Blackjack team and is now a member of Team Full Tilt. Andy Bloch, thanks for coming in.
It's great to be here.
Thanks.
What's up, Andy?
So how has this World Series gone for you so far? You're here and you've made a dinner break, as you said, your first dinner break. So how have the other events gone? Give us a little clue.
Well, when you don't make a dinner break, you don't do very well. The very first event, I got up to about 12,000 in chips, which is about 8 times the starting stack, and then I had 3 bad beats, 3 tough hands. One, I had pocket kings. My opponent flopped a set. He didn't have too much. Fortunately, I only lost 3,000. But, 3 of those hands, and I was broke.
Oh,
I didn't make the
I'm
money.
sorry, buddy.
So, now I'm stuck like 10,000. But fortunately, I did have a good night at video poker the other night. So I think I should just be a professional video poker player. Give up this poker
I think you
stuff.
should too.
Oh, thanks, Gavin.
That's also a beatable game, right? Video poker.
It can be. Like anything else, you have to know what you're doing. You have to know the games to play.
Which means for me, it's definitely not beatable.
Yeah.
Me neither.
Yeah, me and Gavin have no chance.
I think we blew off about 40 last night at the bar downstairs here in the Bellagio.
Way to
playing
go.
video poker. Yeah, I have no idea what I'm doing. Drawing to inside straights, whatever. I'm sure that's not the way you're supposed to play it.
Yeah, sometimes it is. If you get enough free drinks, though, it's worth it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good point.
So how's the... No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, Gavin can easily drink that much.
True. For you, it actually might be well worth it because you could drink over 6,000 or 7,000 drinks in the time that it takes you to lose $200 or $300.
Are we basically saying that's how you beat the game? Really, you beat the game by out drinking or whatever? Yeah,
the drunkest guy wins.
That is one way
Wow.
you beat video poker.
That's
though.
what we need. We need a
get-
new professional sport where the drunkest guy wins.
Why? You would dominate. It
I
would
know.
be ridiculous.
It'd be great. It'd be great. I'd be like Pete Sampras in his prime.
Exactly.
So now you've made the dinner break here in the limit event. Why don't you tell us some of the big hands that have gotten you to where you are today?
Well, in limit, you really don't have a lot of big hands. One hand I did have is there was one player, very inexperienced player, limped in early position. I was in the cutoff. I limped with 8-9 offsuit. The flop came over 10-6-3 with 2 diamonds. They all checked to me. I was last to act, so I bet the one of the blinds raised, and I called. The turn was a perfect card, the 7 of clubs. Actually brought 2 clubs and 2 diamonds on the board, and we went 4 bets there. Now, you're just mentioned drawing a gut shot straights. I mean, there's that old saying, never draw to an inside straight, but you can if you're getting the right odds, and certainly getting 8-1 implied odds plus whatever odds for what was already in the pot, like 14-1, had the right odds there.
Well, and
to make
especially if you're playing against somebody who's inexperienced, who's going to pay you off if you hit it, that makes a huge difference.
So, and then River came a club, bringing 3 clubs. I really didn't put him on a backdoor flush draw. Anyway, he checked me, I bet. He called. He said he had 7-8 of diamonds. So he actually flopped the gut shot draw with a flush draw and then made a pair and went crazy.
4 bets. The thing is, if he hits it, it's all right because if someone goes 4 bets with me, I don't think they've got the flush draw.
Right,
so.
Right.
Or
Yeah,
if they
course.
did have a flush draw, it was with a straight and he was blocking it. So,
Right.
I would have paid him off. I wasn't going to raise. At that point, if the diamond comes and he bets, I'm just going to call.
Sure.
Well, you mentioned the implied odds, and obviously, actually, the first thing I wanted to talk about, I think everyone would probably like to hear something about your experience with the MIT Blackjack team. That's something that seems to draw a lot of interest. There was a book about it. You were on the team, though, that was it the Reptiles? That was
Amphibians.
That's right. I was one of the amphibians.
Oh, okay.
There
The
were
Reptiles were the one that bringing down the house was about.
Yeah,
right?
there's actually multiple books that have been out there and multiple TV shows that have been about the team, documentaries and other things, like the casino that was on Fox. And I was shown in there getting kicked out of the Golden Nugget. And then a lot of people think, oh, it was fake, it's made up, it's a reality show. Well, I actually got arrested trying to go back there to eat in the buffet 6 months later. So when I started, there was actually one MIT Blackjack team. And a couple months later, the team split up. Our group called ourselves the Amphibians, and we were trying to figure out some name for the other team. We just said we made up Reptiles, and that kind of stuck. And they started calling themselves Reptiles. The first book, written by Ben Resnick, called Bring Down the House, was mostly about one player on that team. And he and a few of the other people. And in reality, he and I actually started on the same team. So it was the one team when we started. But that book really only talks about the other half of the team. Ben then wrote another book, a second book that came out last year, that was early this year, that was more about my half of the team. Although this book actually the time it spans goes from before the first book to after the first book ends.
This is getting really complicated.
It's a little bit complicated, but yes. Yes, I was on the MIT Blackjack team, as featured in the Bring Down the House. And is there
any in particular experience that you can share from that was particularly interesting during that time in your life?
Yeah. Well, I got arrested in Monte Carlo, and that was actually the first time I ever got arrested.
Wow.
And we were counting cards in the casino, and they recognized one of us from the Griffin book. The Griffin agency was a detective agency that specializes in catching card counters and other people that casinos don't like people that use slugs or mark cards and things like that, anything like that. But they really specialize in catching card counters like us. They put us, when they have a update to their book, they put the card counters on the top of the pages.
Wow.
Because that's who they really make their money off of. The casinos all pay them a certain amount of money. Anyway,
exist?
The company still exists. Griffin Investigations still exists. They did, in Nevada, they filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy because they got sued by a couple of Advantage players, a couple of blackjack players, and because they had gotten arrested in a couple of casinos based on false information that was in the Griffin book.
Oh, okay.
But they're still around because of corporate law. They have a lot of their operations are in other corporate entities, so it's really unclear what kind of effect that will have.
I love this story. It's so sordid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It just it has all these like tendrils and all these like things are happening, and it's sketchy. I love it.
I mean, that's one of the most exciting things about playing blackjack. Blackjack really isn't that exciting. I mean, it's fun to win, of course, but what the team aspect and the whole cat and mouse game, when you have the casino who has floor people and dealers and supervisors and eye in the sky, the surveillance team, and they have special card counter catchers. They have Griffin Investigations. They have computer software. They even now have facial recognition, and you have your brain as a card counter, but yet you can still have the advantage.
Right.
And that is very that's really very fulfilling when you go in a casino and you beat them. And even though that they have put all this energy into trying to stop you.
When we were in New Orleans this year, after a few drinks, we decided we're going to go play blackjack. And myself and Chris Bell were sitting at the blackjack table, and Andy was standing behind us, counting the cards and telling us what to do. And they said nothing to us at all. We ended up winning. I think we ended up winning like about 13,000 or something. But they didn't say one word to us. And it's like, yeah, Chris Bell and I were betting 50 a hand, and all of a sudden we know to go to 2,500 a hand.
Pulling a fast one there. I guess.
Well, we were all drinking, so that was good cover. I mean, normally on the team we had a strict rule: no drinking, no drugs while you were playing blackjack on a trip. But nowadays I relax that a little bit and have a little fun.
Well, so you can't really count effectively unless you're high on drugs. Everyone knows that.
So obviously, having gone to MIT and what you had mentioned earlier, you were talking about the implied odds, and I think a lot of people I don't think we very often talk about the math of poker on this show. In fact, I think we pretty much never do.
Well, because Joe and I don't know it.
I didn't even. Is there a mathematical aspect to poker and card games?
Yeah, I think there is. I think you may know a little bit about it. Gavin, before you came on the show, said that your game is highly mathematical. Would you agree with that? And what part of the math of poker or how important do you think the math of poker is?
Did Gavin say his game was mathematical?
No, yours.
I was going to say for a second. Yeah, it's very mathematical. It's very mathematical, but it's not just math. I do go and look at my opponent and try to read what they have, and then I incorporate that into the math.
And then he just calls him.
Yeah, and then I usually end up just calling.
Right.
And it's usually right, but it's right often enough. But
what would you say about the importance of the math of poker, though? I mean, for the people who don't have a very good understanding of it, do they still stand a fighting chance? On which games are better suited?
You do still stand a real chance. I think No Limit Hold'em, there's a lot of math to it. There's also a lot of people reading skills. If you know what your opponents have, if you know that their tendencies, if you know they're likely when they miss the flop, they're going to check and you can bet and take it away from them. You don't have to know too much math to know that you can call them with almost anything in position. So you can get away doing stuff like that, and then you happen to hit a big hand and they pay you off. Then that's all bonus.
Yeah. I mean, it's so obvious, but it's one of the coolest things about poker itself is the fact that you can go at it from all these angles, and we've covered that before. You can be a highly mathematical player and be just as successful as somebody who's a completely psychological player. So it's really one of the things that I love so much is there are all these different sides to the same coin.
Well, where do you see in tournament poker, since a lot of people who listen to our show also like to play tournament poker, where does the math of poker come in the most in tournament play, would you say?
I would say early on it comes into play a lot, because then people are trying to play more like their A game and they're not worried too much about survival. Later on, it's about survival for a lot of people, and then it's just about stealing pots and stealing pot after pot after pot.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it is. When you first started, literally probably for the first 4 or 5 hours, for me it's just almost strict mathematical game. I don't even try to read people too much, because it's what you're gaining by picking up these tiny little pots isn't worth it, because you're going to end up risking. Right. I know Gavin actually plays a little bit differently, but for me it just very slow.
And the whole world.
Well, because you're always trying to read and you're always going after people, which I used to do, but it got me in so much trouble, over the course of a couple tournaments, that I just stopped. And until the antes come in, I really just play math. I just play my hand and I just go at it that way.
And it really also depends what game you're playing. If you're playing limit like today's tournament, and I'm in the limit frame of mind right now, that it's very mathematical early on. You're not going to worry about going broke. You're not going to be able to win a huge pot from somebody or steal a huge pot from somebody. So it's very mathematical. In No Limit, obviously, you can bust somebody in the first hand.
Right.
So, there's a little bit more to it than just that. And, I also like to take the first few rounds and try to pick up some tells and figure out, what does my opponent look like when they're relaxed, and what do they look like when they have a big hand. And so, I may throw around some chips a little bit or make some calls that ordinarily I wouldn't because I want to see what they had. Sometimes, you're right, and you win the pot when you do that.
Right.
I think probably the math most likely comes in, though, when people are moving all in. And it's your decision now on whether or not you're going to call the hand. You're going to have to put them on a range of hands and decide how your hand fares against that range of hands and whether or not it's worthwhile for you to call.
Yep, when there's a short stack involved, then definitely the math comes in. I mean, Chris Ferguson and I have actually independently, about 10 years ago, solved the situation where you have a small blind against a big blind. And the shorter stack has X amount of big blinds. Well, what hands should he move in with? If his only play is to move in with or fold, exactly what hands should he move in with? In Sklansky and Miller's new book, they talk about, they have this Sklansky something, Chubukov rating where he says if you turn your cards face up, what hand is it profitable for you to move in with? Well, we went a step beyond that and said, your cards are face down. What hand should you move in with? And your opponent's going to know exactly what hands, with your range of hands to move in with. So this is that's what we call game theory. Is you get an optimal solution. Your opponent is going to know exactly how you play. You know how they played, but this is the optimal way to play.
Right. So when you guys are talking about putting people on a range of hands, do you give that an actual, when you're talking about the math of poker, do you give that an actual percentage? There's a percentage that this person could have this hand, there's a percentage they could have this hand, and then you weigh that against the pot odds. I mean, is that basically what you're saying here?
Right. I mean, that's exactly it. And you can go a step further and say, well, my opponent is going to raise with, the top 20% of hands. Given that, I have like 9-10 offsuit, what do I estimate my advantage to do that? And one person that's great at that, and he makes what some people think are amazing calls, but given the percentages, they're not so amazing, is Gus Hansen. If Gus raises and you push all in on top of him, he's going to call with a lot of hands. And so you have to realize that and factor that in. That doesn't mean you necessarily shouldn't push in on Gus or that type of player, but it means that you shouldn't be, so irate when he calls you with his 10-7 of diamonds, and he beats you.
Diamonds. That's a good hand.
Right, exactly. But I mean,
that's the top 10% of Gus.
I mean, I think he made a call like that against Daniel or I'm not sure who it was on the first Bad Boys of Poker.
Oh, Antonio.
Antonio, that's right. It was against Antonio, and it was right given Antonio's hand. And I mean, if Antonio had aces or kings, he probably wouldn't have re-raised all in there.
Right.
So if you can eliminate those two hands, and then you say, okay, well, he can have any other pair. He can have ace king, ace queen, ace X even.
Right.
Then you look at it and say, okay, my expectation against those hands is 40%, and there's all this dead money in there.
God, poker's so complicated. It's so I don't understand any of this.
Yeah, blackjack's a lot simpler. Actually, it is a lot easier to learn blackjack, and that's something. Actually, I have a new DVD out that covers all that and tells you, takes it from the beginning to the end of how do you beat blackjack like the MIT team did.
Really, what's the name of it?
It's called Beating Blackjack with Andy Bloch, cool. And you can get that from expertinsight.com. And as a special bonus, anyone that listens to this, if you use the code Andy5, you'll get $5 off.
Nice. Look at this.
Anyone who listens or anyone who hosts too?
No, I don't know if you host.
Anyone within earshot of this.
Okay. Well, one other question, and there's something that this has been brought up on our show before, and I've also heard it talked about. I was at the Phil Hellmuth's Camp Hellmuth, and him and TJ got into an argument about how important pot odds are in tournament poker. And TJ said pot odds don't mean anything if you're calling off your tournament. Pot odds don't mean anything if you know you're behind. What do the three of you think about this, about how important pot odds are in no limit hold'em tournaments?
Well, I think they're important. I mean, I think it's ridiculous to say that they have no importance.
Right.
I mean, there becomes a point, even if you are behind and you know you're behind and you're calling off your tournament, where there's just so much money in the middle of that pot that you have to do it.
Yeah, I mean, when the pot odds are close, that's when you're in a tournament. You can say, okay, I'm going to muck my hand because I don't want to go broke. But there are times when the pot odds aren't close, and if you're calling, you got to call.
Yeah.
You have a flush draw, and you're getting like 15-1.
Right, yeah. And I agree with these guys, too. I mean, obviously, to say that it has no bearing is pretty ridiculous because it wouldn't exist if it didn't. But with that said, I mean, I'm a much more psychological player. I mean, I don't get mired down in that as much probably as some players, but you certainly have to factor it in, and as Andy was saying, there's sometimes it makes no difference. You cannot fold your hand. I mean, if you think you're behind, if you think you're crushed, sometimes it just makes no difference. You can't fold.
Right.
And what about now? Conversely, you guys are playing in this limit event, and you're going back to it there pretty soon. How do you feel about we talked a little bit about the psychology. You sit back and try to look for tells on players even in a limit event, but with the lack of pressure, in the game, how much do tells and all of that factor in limit hold'em in comparison to no limit?
There are a lot of bets that are made in limit hold'em, so you can pick up a lot of tells. Every time someone puts a chip in the pot is a potential for them to for you to pick off a tell. And also, you see a lot of flops and turns and rivers, so there are a lot of tells there. In no limit hold'em, a lot of the times in tournaments, it's like raise all in, and now you got to sit there and stare at the guy and try to figure out what he has. Whereas in limit hold'em, okay, did this guy have a draw on the flop? Is he afraid? And then he has to make 2 or 3 bets before you have before the river. Whereas in no limit, it's like one bet, you have one chance to read them. So here you have multiple pieces of the picture to put together. Even though all the pieces may be a little bit smaller, together they can form a bigger picture.
Right. It's kind of a strange animal too, because most of the time on the river, there's really not much of a decision. Most of the time, the pot's so big, it's just one bet you call. And in no limit, you've almost always on the river. Your river bet is almost always a big decision in no limit, and in limit,
it's like not in the call, it's not a really big decision either. Right. It's also even with tells. In the public consciousness, when people hear tells, they're thinking like physical ticks, and this guy he blinks weird when this happens, and that's not really true. It's kind of what Andy was saying, that you pay attention to what people do in certain instances and how they bet, and if you put pressure on them, are they going to back off? Are they going to fight back? Those are the things that we look for, and in limit, I look for that kind of stuff. It's kind of, you hit it right on the nail on the head. Is this guy going to check every time he doesn't hit the flop? Things like that are really, really what you look for. Yeah. At least that's what I look for.
The betting patterns are the big thing in limit, definitely,
absolutely,
and what people's starting hands are,
for sure.
All right, we got some calls. Looks like Dan, we have one call. All right, one call for Andy. Let's play it.
Yes, my name is Alan Rubin. I'm calling from South Florida, and I just want to say hi to Scott, Gavin, and of course Joe. But my question is for Andy Bloch about the $50,000 buy-in horse event. If someone is not a strong player in such as stud 8 or better, do they still have a shot at winning? Have a good night and good luck in the World Series of Poker.
Thanks a lot. Yes, of course you still have a shot of winning. I think what you should do is get online and practice a little bit of whatever games you think aren't your best game. I know on Full Tilt we have all those games. We have horse tournaments. We have horse tournaments every Sunday night at $200 buy-in horse event, and with $20,000 guaranteed. And that's a great place to practice. And there's play money, real money games for whatever game. And if you know the other two stud games, then 8 or better stud. There are a few things to learn, but you got the basics down. You have to learn to throw away those medium pairs. That are nines through kings are medium pairs in stud. In stud 8 or better.
Also, and you also have the other option of you can always go to the bathroom whenever stud 8's being played in the rotation.
But I think the bottom line is what that fella's asking is that if you are weak in one of the games, do you still have a chance to win? Yes. Right. If you're weak in no limit hold'em, you still have a chance to win a no limit hold'em tournament. Right. But if you are weak in one of the games, you are at a drastic disadvantage because you're going to be playing against the best players in the world, and you're playing against guys like the Bear that know how to play every game well.
Right. But there's going to be a lot of players that aren't very good in all 5 games.
There's going to be 20 there's going to be 20 or 30 players that are good in all 5 games. Right. Anybody who's not good in all 5 games is going to give something up to them.
Right. But one thing you can do is play tighter. Play a little bit tighter. You could play a little bit slower, but you're just going to annoy everybody at your table. Right. If you act fast during all the other games and you come to stud 8 or better, and you got to 9 up all the time, and you take 3 minutes.
Well, and you can also just obviously play a little more cautiously in the game that you're not good at. Don't put yourself in dicey situations where you're going to have to make judgment calls if it's a game that you're weak at. And I think that's probably pretty obvious. Is there any kind of preliminary numbers here on how many people they're expecting for the 50,000 horse?
I've heard people from 80 to 200. I think it's 120, but some people think I'm crazy.
Yeah. I think 120 is.
I think 120 is pretty high. I don't know. I'm thinking between 80 and 100 myself.
Yeah. Well, I've talked to some people that think that 200 is the right number.
Shall we have a bet?
Sure.
Oh, here you go. Gavin's always trying to bet on the air.
$100?
You got it.
That's doubles in the studio. He wants in on it too.
I want 200.
I want the under.
I'll take 200.
On the under?
Well, no, I want up to 200.
You think it's going to be over 200?
I think there will be 200 players. So if you want to give me over 140, I'll take that. Since you like 120.
Oh, if you think that they're going to be over 200 players, how you going to?
No, I mean, you guys like 120, so we should meet somewhere in between.
I'll give you over 140. I'll give you over
140. I will bet $500.
You got it,
Josh. Are you playing?
I am playing, so that's one of the ones.
And I'm playing. Are you playing, Gavin?
Yeah, I'm playing.
Is it, wait, over 140 or 140 or no?
How many seats did Full Tilt give
Over
away?
140.
We only gave one seat.
Okay, wait, one seat.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm not playing. I know where my ass is not belonging, and it is in the $50,000 horse tournament.
The only thing that might make me not play, I have to look at the schedule. If Seabox starts catching up with me on our bet, and there's a lot of Hold'em events at the same time as the horse event, I may have to forego the horse event to fight with Seabox.
I dodged a huge bullet because we're still we're basically even right now.
Where?
Yeah, because the way that the player of the year points is, as long as you cash, there's not a whole lot of difference until you make the final table. So you have a slight lead. You probably have, I don't know exactly what that point is, but it's very negligible. It doesn't actually matter. So I really dodged a bullet with you finishing 12th the other day.
Very happy for you.
I am as well.
All right. Well, Andy and Joe both have to get back to the Limit Hold'em event over there at the World Series of Poker. Andy, thanks for coming by tonight.
Thanks.
Check out his DVD at www.expertinsight.com, and you can play with Andy at fulltiltpoker.com as well. Thanks for coming by.
Thanks for having me.
Right on. Thanks, Andy.
Want the latest in cool card player clothes, or are you looking to take huge pots by reading game theory from some of the world's greatest players? If your answer is yes, and you're looking for the best possible poker products, all you need to do is log on to cardplayer.com, click on Poker Store, and you will find tons of poker-related items, including books, poker accessories, DVDs, clothing, and so much more. Go check it out today, and you'll agree that the Card Player Poker Store has everything poker-related you could need.
Welcome back to the circuit, everyone. We are broadcasting on Sports Byline Radio on Sirius Channel 122 on cardplayer.com and on the iTunes Music Store as a podcast. Scott Huff here with just Gavin Smith as Joe Seabock has headed back to the limit event at the World Series of Poker.
Good luck to you, Joey.
We're here at the Bellagio in Las Vegas. A beautiful view from our suite up here. Gavin, before we say goodbye to everybody, why don't you tell us about what you have going on tomorrow?
Tomorrow I'll be participating in the Mansion Poker Free Roll. There's 3 pros, myself, Todd Brunson, and John Gale, playing against 3 internet qualifiers, where the 3 of us will start with $50,000 in chips, the 3 of them $70,000 in chips, and it's $1 million free roll amongst 6 people.
It's too bad we're not going to have anybody down there covering that. I'd like to watch that, but I'm going to be down at the World Series, obviously, tomorrow.
I believe it's going to air on Fox Sports on July 12th. So
we'll be looking out for that. You won't have braids, though, this time. We were just watching your coverage before this circuit started this evening. We were watching Gavin on the USPC, and those braids were awesome. We've talked about it plenty on the show before. So you won't be able to follow the Mansion Poker Free Roll, but you will be able to see it on television. You will, however, be able to follow the action from the World Series of Poker on cardplayer.com. We have exclusive coverage this year, and they're going to be working all day long, 25 hours a day, 8 days a week, to bring you the best coverage from this year's World Series. So make sure you check that out at www.cardplayer.com. We have videos. We have the circuit, obviously. We also have live updates in the logs that are as close to live action as you can get of the World Series of Poker. So check that out. All right, we'd like to thank our guest tonight, Andy Bloch, for coming by. I guess we'll thank S Double for popping his head in here and making a bet with you. As always, I'd like to thank my co-hosts, Gavin Smith and Joe Seabock. And
we'd like to thank Scott Huff for being
buddy.
Scott Huff.
Thank you very much. We will be back with you tomorrow. We will get you the guest as soon as we know, and then we'll be with you continuing all week long, Monday to Friday, here on the circuit. Thanks for listening, everybody.